I still remember the exact second I realized my own blood had been bleeding me dry for years. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't even a fight. It was the sound of my father laughing at his own joke while the rest of the table laughed with him about me. And in that laugh I heard the truth I'd been swallowing since I was 12. I wasn't their son anymore. I was their subscription plan. My name is Caleb Rowe. 31 years old. I own a tired little 24-hour convenience store with 2 lonely gas pumps squatting on the cracked edge of town. The neon beer sign out front has been broken so long that only half the cowboy hat ever glows, like it's tipping its hat goodbye every night. People around here just call the place the Stop. I call it the only address where nobody asks me for money the second I walk through the door. Inside those cinder block walls it's just me, the low electric hum of the coolers, the sour ghost of yesterday's coffee, and the smell of motor oil that never quite leaves my skin. Outside those walls lives a family that taught me love and money are spelled the same way. Mom calls me steady. Dad calls me solid. My little sister Lila says I'm lucky because I don't have real problems. What they all actually mean is I'm the mule they tied all their baggage to. We grew up in a duplex that smelled like mildew and fryer grease from the chicken joint next door. Dad bounced from warehouse to warehouse, always one bad month away from the next layoff. Mom cleaned office buildings after midnight, came home with bleach under her fingernails and somebody else's glitter on her sleeves. When the power company sent the red envelopes, they'd slide them across the table to me like it was my turn to do the dishes. I was 15 the first time I saw my own name printed on a shut-off notice. I paid it with cash I'd earned mowing lawns in 100-degree heat. They hugged me so hard I thought that tight feeling in my chest was pride. Turns out it was just the harness snapping into place. I never planned on owning the Stop. I was 19, working graveyard shifts to keep the duplex lights on, when the old owner decided to retire to Florida. He offered me the place for pennies and a mountain of debt. I signed because I was tired of watching my mother cry over bills. The day the bank handed me the keys I locked myself in the filthy little bathroom and cried so hard I threw up. Not from joy. From terror. That store became my entire life. I learned how to patch a leaking roof with a trash bag and prayer. I learned to smile at the drunk who threatened to shoot me over a declined card. I learned to count quarters at 3 a.m. just to make payroll. And every time the numbers got tight, I told myself, this is for them. This is family. This is love. Last Christmas, Lila handed me a card with a red ribbon tied around a single brass key. The note inside said, for when you finally get a real life. Everyone laughed. I laughed loudest. I hung that key on a nail by the register, right under the lottery sign, like a joke I was in on. I never asked what door it opened. I should have. 3 months ago I dragged myself home after a 14-hour shift, bones humming with exhaustion, only to find my parents and Lila sitting at my kitchen table. My table. My apartment. My one place that was supposed to be off limits. They had spreadsheets. Color-coded, laminated spreadsheets titled, Caleb's 2025 Family Support Schedule. Rent contribution, 60%. Dad's truck insurance, 100%. Lila's new lash studio deposit, temporary loan, payback TBD. At the bottom, in Dad's blocky handwriting. Emergency buffer, Caleb's savings account, access needed. They wanted the login. Dad smiled like he was promoting me to partner. Mom reached for my hand and whispered, we're just getting organized, honey. You're so good at this stuff. Lila stared at the floor. Cheeks pink, like a kid caught stealing candy. I stood there holding my keys so tight the metal cut half-moons into my palm. That was the first real crack in the wall. But it still wasn't the worst of it. After that night I started a private note on my phone titled Receipts. Every text. Every quick favor. Every love you, need $200 by morning. In 33 days I logged 41 requests. 39 were about money. 2 were, how are you, that never waited for an answer. Dad's back went out, again, and suddenly I was paying their rent straight to the landlord because paperwork is hard right now. Lila's car got repossessed the same week her studio urgently needed new ring lights and a hydraulic chair. Mom sent me a screenshot of a negative bank balance with the caption, "Short $47 for groceries, love you." I paid it. Then I paid the overdraft fee for paying it. Every time I tried to say no, the guilt artillery fired. After everything we sacrificed for you, you're the only one who can help. You want your mother on the street. I started sleeping in the store. Curled up on the cracked red vinyl booth under the flickering fluorescent, using a stack of lottery tickets for a pillow. At least the security cameras didn't guilt-trip me. I stopped answering on the first ring. Then I stopped answering at all. Blocked numbers. Unblocked them when Mom cried. Blocked them again when the begging resumed at 2 a.m. I'd hide in the walk-in cooler, breathing frozen air until my fingers went numb, just to feel something that belonged only to me. One night I caught my reflection in the glass door of the beer case, eyes sunken, mouth locked like a vault, and I whispered to the 30 racks. I'm disappearing. And they'll still want their $20. 2 weeks ago I opened the safe to pull the weekend deposit. Inside was a white envelope I didn't put there. My name written across the front in Lila's perfect loopy cursive. Inside, the little brass key from Christmas, and a bank withdrawal slip. My savings account. The one I'd been feeding every overtime hour, every skipped meal, every birthday I never celebrated. $42,613. Every penny I'd scraped together for 9 years to buy the empty lot behind the store, to build a house that would finally have my name on the deed and nobody else's. Gone. On the memo line, in Lila's handwriting. Family Relocation Fund, thank you for always being our rock. They didn't break in like strangers. They waited until I passed out on the booth, exhausted. Used the spare key I kept under the register for emergencies. Walked right past me while I was snoring. Took everything I had. And because the account was still in my name, if anyone ever asked, I gave it willingly. They robbed me with a smiley face. That's when the last illusion shattered. I never had a family. I had investors who finally cashed out. I changed every lock that same night. Filed the police report at 3 a.m. while the officer looked at me like I was the villain for making my little sister cry. I still haven't heard their voices. I'm not sure I ever want to again. Some wounds don't need stitches. They need continence. The store is quieter now. I finally fixed the cowboy neon, whole hat glows proud and bright for the first time in years. I hired a kid to cover evenings. I go home before midnight. I bought a rail bed. Some nights I sit on the stool behind the counter after close, staring at the empty nail where that brass key used to hang, and I ask myself the question I still can't answer. When the people who are supposed to love you most treat you like a resource to be harvested, do you spend the rest of your life trying to fix them? Or do you finally thank God they showed you who they really were before you handed them the rest of your years? I don't know yet. But for the first time in 31 years, the choice is mine. So tell me in the comments, be honest. If this was your blood, your home, your entire life savings, could you ever turn that key again? Or would you melt it down and build something that can never be stolen? I'm Caleb Rowe. And for the first time ever, the sign out front finally tells the truth. We're closed for renovations. Maybe permanently.